What's up, guys? So this is Ray from Apple Valley Astrologer. Said I would go over the lunar eclipse that just happened in Leo on the 10th of February 2017. The time of this event was 4:32 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. For people in my time zone or geographical area, we weren't able to see the eclipse. So, hate to break it to anybody who happened to go out and try to scout out the eclipse. Actually, about 6 or 7 o'clock, I happened to just leave the house, and I just looked up at the moon, and I was just like, yeah, no, that does not look like an eclipse of any kind. That's not even, doesn't look like supermoon status or anything like that, and it's just like, huh, so that would mean that it's either happening way early in the morning or we already missed it. And I just find that kind of hilarious, because the only reason why a lot of people knew about this eclipse is because there's the huge, oh my god, let's share this news story about how you can see a comet and an eclipse all in one night. The comet, apparently, according to what I saw from other friends on social media that know a little bit more about astronomy and stargazing than all the people sharing those stories, said that the comet itself, which I don't even know what comet it is per se, honestly I don't keep track of those sorts of things, passed by around 10:30. So, assuming if it was 10:30 around my time, there was almost a 6-hour window in between the eclipse and the comet. So that's a very boring stargazing night, if you ask me. I guess it's kind of a benefit to those who couldn't see it, because as I've heard, there's some sort of folklore in Vedic astrology about looking at an eclipse as bad luck, which makes total sense. I've looked at a couple of the eclipses here and there in the last few years, and let's not lie, I have bad luck most of the time anyway. But anyway, so we'll go ahead and go over what the specific aspects are going to entail with this eclipse. Make sure you can kind of see my. Do I need to make this bigger? Perhaps. I apologize for some reason if the visual for the overlay is a little off. I'll also show an image of the actual chart itself, just in case you didn't get a good view of it. Alright, so for this lunar eclipse in Leo, it's at 22 degrees. The moon in Leo in the first house is going to emphasize on self-interest at the expense of others. So we can go ahead and look at the aspects to the moon to kind of emphasize on how it will manifest in different sociological facets. We have a semi-square to Venus. So the semi-square to Venus would be something I would definitely like to highlight, because the Lord Dios, or the Lord of the Day, on Friday is Venus. So Venus takes precedence or major influence in this chart dynamic. With Venus in particular, there's obviously going to be volatile emotions involved. Venus being present in the 9th house of beliefs and opinions would signify that people are going to be having volatile emotions towards each other because of differing beliefs or opinions. And with the Mars-Venus conjunction in the 9th house, in Aries no less, that would be more combative, confrontational. Sharing the 9th house again with Uranus emphasizes abnormality, potentially either psychologically or physical trauma inflicted or involved with the disputes or the disagreements going on between the beliefs and opinions of the collective. We have a trine with Venus to Lilith in the 4th house, which would mean that this divide going on would be causing some sort of toxic environment within the native lands or the native kind of environment that it's in. So if we're thinking about this from a sociological perspective, specifically with a country, I'll use the United States for example, the divide going on with the recent election outcome will be causing a toxic environment within the homeland, and that would be squaring the node that's in the same house with the moon, so it would be detrimental to the potential future of the country with this toxic divide happening. But unfortunately, the uh, the moon in Leo with the node in the first house right there is actually the intention of that is supposed to be that every single person feels like from their own perspective they have good intentions, and that they're projecting their beliefs or how they feel that certain ideas or concepts or the way that they should run the country or will be better for the collective or better for humanity. And that's actually the most dangerous, is when somebody actually thinks that they're doing the most good, or they have some sort of what is the word, righteous reason to do what they're doing. Then we look at more of the generational influences with this eclipse. One particular generational aspect that is a key factor in this that has been causing major issues for about the past decade now is we've had the infamous Uranus-Pluto square. So we have a Uranus-Pluto-Jupiter T-square. So Jupiter, regardless of how it's affecting something, would signify that it intensifies or magnifies anything that it influences. So Uranus-Pluto square themes on a social level would be upheaval of authority, governments, collective organizations. Pluto representing plutocracy, especially while it's in Capricorn, will signify there being some sort of traumatizing events that transpire throughout foreign lands because of the shift in power, because of the abuse of power, and there also could be from an individual level, because we do have aspects with Uranus to the moon and to the ascendant, where people are feeling traumatized by the change that's now happening in their daily lives. So Pluto being in the 6th house would manifest as work, health, your daily mundane routine sort of thing. So the upheaval or the unpredictable change that's been happening in people's daily routines could feel like it's traumatizing them mentally because of their beliefs and their specific perspectives on things. And that would be another reason why there's a fight or flight or kind of a combative manifestation with Mars and Venus being in that house as well. So as we're going through this last year of the mutable years, and the Uranus-Pluto square is actually starting to finally build up its influence and affect the collective, people are going to be feeling the animal instincts within, their fight or flight kind of thing. Pluto represents survival. It also represents power, and it obviously has to do with the psychological makeup of the human brain. Make something feel like its life might be in potential threat, it would, fight back. And although people are evolved to an extent, we are still creatures, regardless if people want to acknowledge it or not. So when we start to feel like our own life is threatened, regardless if it's imaginary or realistic, people start to act out in manic ways. The fact that the sun is in Aquarius, that archetype is known for being manic, and there being obviously the opposition with the moon, would emphasize on the manic kind of behavior. Manic kind of mentality going on is going to be emphasized even more with Mercury being in Aquarius, and it being square the midhaven, and then semi-square with the North Node would mean that people feel some sort of impending doom on the horizon due to the traumatic changes now transpiring, regardless if we're talking about on a global, national, individual, or like within your own sociological groups and such. We do have a trine with this moon to Saturn and to Uranus, meaning that the passions or the emotional self-interest of the collective or the people will be beneficial to the stability or structure. So although this, to a lot of people, this seems like the end of the world, there's actually going to be some significant progress with laying the new foundation, which will start to solidify after the last year of these mutable years. And other than that, the, I guess, omen or pandemic kind of thing I'd like to point out, since I have to go there. The Pluto-Uranus Jupiter T-square would signify there could be possible disease, pandemic, or an epidemic of some kind that could be an unpredictable strain, either a mutated virus, a new strain, specifically with Neptune being in Pisces. Feelings about how there's going to be older diseases coming back, there being, certain adults deciding not to give their kids, vaccines and stuff would validate that kind of events transpiring. So Jupiter being involved in this would cause any kind of magnification or over-exaggeration with any themes that have transpired, specifically tied to Uranus and Pluto. And so with, again, Neptune and Chiron both being in the 8th house of death and disease, that would signify that this would be the potential setup for some sort of widespread contagious disease or whatnot, and we are due for a pandemic or an epidemic. We have a square with Chiron to Saturn, which would be weakening of the infrastructures, weakening of the authority, weakening of the educational system, because Saturn being in Sagittarius. So there's going to be a lot of deterioration of the structure that now is, and again, that's kind of echoing what the mutable years has been. So any of the chaos or unpredictability or instability that has been the overall theme for the past 2 years is going to be bumped up a notch because of this lunar eclipse. So this is just a lunar eclipse though, so this will affect everything globally, and that's the gist of that. If you have any questions, let me know. I also do have the charts for every individual ascendant, but I'm not going to really go into that per se unless somebody requests it specifically, and then if I feel like it and I have time, I will address it.